My dear students of class 8A and 8B, welcome to my history class. Today I have reached the extreme point of this lesson, and today is the last day of this lesson I am going to teach you. The points as I mentioned in the board, please look at it. Points are as mentioned: the Rajputs, the Sikh kingdom, Marathas, Peshwas, the third battle of Panipat. Who were the Rajputs? The Rajputs were the most important race of India. The Rajputs were actually warlike people, but they all were self-oriented people. They did not want to get themselves united in order to strengthen their own race and community. Although they were brave, they were courageous, great fighters, but they had no unity. They had no sense of patriotism for their motherland, for their race. That we should have one nation, that is Rajput nation. All Rajputs will work anonymously, will work collectively, will fight against other races collectively. They had no motto like that. As a result, the Rajput could not, get success in many wars they fought. But they were very much, aggressive in their nature. And what did they do in the interest of themselves, not in the interest of other Rajputs? Suppose I am living here, and beside my back or beside my left, beside my right, other neighbors also are living. But one Rajput could do work for his own interest. He never thought of other interests. And there was no anticipation, interaction among themselves. That's why the Rajput race never, established themselves. Could not establish themselves only because of that reason. During the reign of Akbar, the Rajput race contributed a lot for the cause of Mughal Empire. Akbar had great faith on the Rajputs. Akbar adopted a policy of matrimonial relations with the Rajputs. He got married one Rajput princess, Jodhabai, daughter of Raja of Ambar. But at the same time, the Rajputs were given many responsible posts in his administration. Only for that reason, Akbar was able to strengthen relations with the Rajputs, and he was able to extend his empire. The Rajput soldiers contributed a lot for the all-round development of the country under Akbar's rule. That very Rajputs, was neglected during the period of Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb left all beliefs the beliefs and faith, whatever Mughal Emperor Akbar once obtained from them, and the Rajputs in return for gave it back by providing, heroic service for the nation, for the country. And the followers of Akbar, who came to power one by one, they also followed the same technique and method, except Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan adopted a middle path. Okay, because Shah Jahan started spending a lot of money. That's why, but Shah Jahan never, Shah Jahan never broke a healthy relations with the Rajputs. But it was Aurangzeb who broke it. Aurangzeb extended his empire excessively. An empire should not be extended beyond the control of a king. Once upon a time, Alauddin Khilji followed that system. Alauddin Khilji once openly declared before his courtiers, he said, I don't want to extend my empire excessively. I would like to extend my empire which would be under my control, under my grip. And that much areas where I would establish my rule, I would like to provide good administration there, so that people must recognize me to be a great ruler, to be a popular ruler. I do believe that a large kingdom may be a cause of tension, may be a cause of anxiety for a king, since there is a possibility of foreign attacks, foreign invasions. So, in order to avoid this kind of inconveniences, I will never extend my empire unnecessarily. Alauddin Khilji discussed with his courtiers, said to them. But Aurangzeb did not understand the easy thing. This easy logic Aurangzeb could not understand. As a result, the large kingdom, whatever he extended, he could not control it. Everywhere, a number of regional kingdoms took the internal weakness, the inherent weakness of the Mughals, and stopped paying taxes and revenues. The Rajput was one of them, who first showed the pathway of protest, who first established an example of neglecting the Mughals, and other regional kingdoms followed the footsteps of the Rajputs. The Rajputs, started neglecting Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. The Rajput states of Jaipur and Jodhpur and Udaipur took advantage of the growing weakness of the Mughals during the reign of Aurangzeb, and by the 18th century, most of the Rajput states had become independent, of which Ambar, ruled by Swai Raja Man Singh, was the most renowned. As I mentioned earlier, although the Rajput established their rule, but what they did it separately, individually. There was no unity among them. The Rajput rulers could not unite and form an empire only because of that reason. Each state had their own individual goals and interests, which often caused conflicts among them. The corruption in the Mughal courts could soon become an issue. The British East India Company also took its advantage because they came to India as traders, but they started taking part the internal politics of India. As a result, they established control over Rajput rulers also. Who are they? The British East India Company. There was a tussle between the Rajputs and the regional kingdoms and British East India Company. Both of these two sides became their rivalries. And there was a keen competition between Indian regional kingdoms and British East India Company because British East India Company decided to be the ruler of India. Because the inherent weakness of the Indian regional kingdoms and their rulers attracted the British East India Company a lot. The British East India Company realized that they had no unity. They remained busy in safeguarding their own interests and their own individual goals. They had their own individual goals and they wanted to reach there by hook or by crook. So, the British must take its advantages. And next one, the Sikh kingdom. You know, the Sikh kingdom, what is this, my dear students? Under the guidance of Guru Gobind Singh, under the guidance of Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th and last Sikh Guru, who was the 10th and last Sikh Guru? Guru Gobind Singh was the 10th and last Sikh Guru. He became, during the period of Guru Gobind Singh, the Sikhs became powerful. Although the Sikhs were peace-loving people, yet they decided to protect their state. How? By organizing a military brotherhood known as Khalsa. When the Mughals became weak after the invasions of Nadir Shah and Ahmad Shah Abdali, the Sikhs took control over two states, Jammu and Punjab. The Sikhs soon organized themselves into 12 political groups called missals. And each missile had one ruler. And this ruler was supposed to look after his own missile. It was Maharaja Ranjit Singh, leader of one missile, got united the 12 missiles and named it Punjab. These 12 missiles got united and then Maharaja Ranjit Singh founded a new kingdom, Punjab, towards the end of the 18th century. So this is about the Sikh kingdom. And next one, Marathas. You know, the Marathas became very much powerful at the end of the rule of Aurangzeb. The Marathas rose as the most powerful kingdom after the decline of the Mughal Empire. Means after the death of Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, because Aurangzeb died fighting against the Marathas at Deccan, you know. Shivaji fought against the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb to free the Marathas from being under the rule of the Mughals. Under the leadership of the Marathas declared themselves as independent. Shivaji wanted to make an united and independent kingdom for the Marathas. Shivaji carved out an independent kingdom but during his reign he did it. He carved out an independent kingdom near Pune, which comprised of territories from Bijapur, Golconda and some Mughal territories. But after the death of Shivaji, there was an administration introduced by the Marathas, among them the reign under the Peshwas. The reign under the Peshwas means the Prime Minister in the court of Maratha. The Prime Minister took over control. The Prime Minister took control over the kingdom after the death of Shivaji in the name of Peshwa. And Pune remained the capital of the Maratha Empire. The Maratha army, under the guidance of the Peshwas, raided areas occupied by the Mughal Empire and other regional kingdoms also. The Maratha kingdom gradually came to include parts of Malwa and Gujarat in the west, Punjab and Rajasthan in the north, and Bengal and Odisha in the east, and Hyderabad and Mysore in the south. It is to be noted that many of the states were not directly came under Maratha control, but they agreed to pay Maratha Chaut and Sardesh Mukhi. Why? Because the Marathas had a natural tendency to break integrity of any state by attacking through the system of guerrilla warfare. They did it in our state Bengal when Alivardi Khan was the Nawab of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. They raided Bengal for several times. They looted immense wealth from the resident of Jagat Seth, the banker during that time, the banker of Bengal, looted immense wealth from the residents of Jagat Seth. Who were there? They were the Marathas. And once again they came, raided other houses, burned, the ripe crops of peasants and farmers, started, disturbing the people of Bengal. All the people of Bengal came to Nawab Alivardi and requested them, please Nawab, protect us. All the crops which we produce from our agricultural lands, and we were going to cut it, we were going to sell it, we were going to, sell it to the market, or we were going to eat it by making it rice or wheat. The Borghese means the Marathas. They were called Maratha dacoits. The Maratha dacoits came and they plundered and they destroyed all the crops. Not only that, they looted all the animals, means cows, buffaloes, goats, each and everything, and made them street beggars. Please protect us from the horror of the Marathas. Nawab Alivardi decided to make a peace treaty with the Marathas, and ultimately the Marathas demanded 2 taxes. Sardeshmukhi and Chou. Nawab Alivardi was compelled to pay taxes to the Marathas. In spite of being an independent king, Alivardi as a Nawab had to pay Chou and Sardeshmukhi taxes to the Marathas from our state Bengal. Why? Because of the guerrilla warfare of Mecca. A group of soldiers reached at Kalna beside the river Ganga, Kalna. Whenever Alivardi reached there, he heard that group reached near Katwa, or that group reached near, capital Murshidabad. Once again, Alivardi came back, but he was unable to recognize the Maratha soldiers. Where were they? So unnecessarily the Marathas harassed all the Nawabs of different regional kingdoms, and by this way the Marathas established their influence in different parts of India. And this technique was introduced by Shivaji, the architect of Maratha victory in India. Shivaji's technique and method was followed by other Peshwas or prime ministers. And next one, the military campaigns of the Marathas against other states emerged, helped them to establish their political power. The defeated rulers, especially Nizam in the south and Rajput kings, became hostile towards the Marathas. Moreover, the Marathas moved northwards and tried to take control of the Mughal Empire. They faced even more hostility. A major problem arose when the Marathas took over the provinces of Sirhind and Lahore from Ahmad Shah Abdali and the Afghan ruler. According to historian N.K. Sinha, the famous historian, Dr. N.K. Sinha and Dr. Ramesh Chandra Mazumdar, the Marathas committed a great mistake. The Marathas could establish an independent kingdom in India after the death of Shivaji. There was a possibility. Whenever the Marathas established their control in different states of India by imposing two taxes, Chout and Sardeshmukhis and other regional kingdoms were forced to pay to the Marathas. The main task of the Marathas was to defeat the British East India Company. Because British East India Company was watching the activities of the Marathas and trying to get them defeated. During that time, two important places which were occupied by Ahmad Shah Abdali. You know Ahmad Shah Abdali? Ahmad Shah Abdali was an invader, came to India to invade Delhi after the death of Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb and during the rule of the later Mughals. Ahmad Shah first came Nadir Shah and then came Ahmad Shah Abdali. Both of them looted immense wealth from our country. But there was a basic difference between Nadir Shah and Ahmad Shah Abdali. Nadir Shah looted immense wealth and got back to his own country and spent money for the all-round development of his own country. But before leaving the country, Ahmad Shah Abdali occupied two important places of India, Sirhind, and the two important places where Ahmad Shah Abdali established his control, the two important parts were Lahore and Sirhind. Lahore and Sirhind, the two important places of India, and its nature, its natural beauty attracted Ahmad Shah Abdali a lot. So while leave this country, India, he was attracted by the natural scene, natural beauty of these two important places, Sirhind and Lahore, and discussed with his officials, discussed with his companions whether the territory should be occupied, because he had become a great lover of these two important places, Lahore and Sirhind. While crossing these two areas, that idea came to his mind and he occupied Sirhind and Lahore. But suddenly, the Maratha committed a great mistake. In spite of being learned, the two places were occupied by the great invader Ahmad Shah Abdali. The Marathas recaptured it. The Marathas occupied Sirhind and Lahore in absence of Ahmad Shah Abdali. Ahmad Shah Abdali's representatives were there who could not chase the Marathas. As a result, the Marathas temporarily occupied the two places, Sirhind and Lahore. As a result, Ahmad Shah Abdali came back to India and declared war against the Marathas. It was a great challenge for Ahmad Shah Abdali. The Britishers had been eagerly waiting to see who were going to win the battle, Ahmad Shah Abdali or the Marathas, because the Britishers wanted to see the Marathas to be defeated. Why? Because the British know the aims and the main aim of the Marathas was to make an independent kingdom throughout India. But Ahmad Shah Abdali would never do it. So the Britishers wanted to see the defeat of the Marathas, and it is said that the Britishers also helped indirectly. The Britishers indirectly helped the great invader Ahmad Shah Abdali to defeat the Marathas. But there is no certain evidence behind it whether Ahmad Shah Abdali took help from the Britishers. Ahmad Shah Abdali was a great fighter. That's why he did not have any requirement of any help from other sides. So Ahmad Shah Abdali challenged the authority of the Marathas, and both the two sides met at the Third Battle of Panipat in the year 1761. But the Marathas were badly defeated by Ahmad Shah Abdali. So the Marathas lost the political respect they had earned after their defeat at the hands of Ahmad Shah Abdali. Their dream to replace the Mughals and rule over India was shattered. The Maratha kingdom started disintegrating, and this helped the British to establish their empire in India. The British ultimately took its advantages because they wanted to see the Marathas disintegration. So what they had been expecting, it came to be true. The Marathas were badly defeated by Ahmad Shah Abdali and got back to his own country. And the Britishers were able to establish their political power in different parts of up to this might.